Hi, I'm JP.
And I'm Adam.
I've never seen Lost.
I have.
I'm told that it's good.
I liked it.
I'm told that it made sense.
Sort of.
But we're watching it out of order.
So it definitely won't make sense.
But it might still be good. Since we won't expect it to make sense, we'll still be able to appreciate each episode on its own merits as a 1-hour story.
Sometimes 2 or 3.
As opposed to just a fraction of an ongoing, sprawling, and increasingly complex tangle of relationships, personal stories, mysteries, mythologies, experiments, social dynamics, unnatural disasters, unanswered questions, and hot tropical hookups.
Are you okay?
I'm not sure.
Because you lost me a little bit there at the end.
Well, good, because I've been lost since the beginning. We're lost on Lost.
Welcome everybody to Lost on Lost. My name is Adam Busher and I'm joined as always by JP Russell.
That's me.
Now, JP, before we get started, I have to make a retraction, I suppose.
Oh,
yeah.
You messed up.
Yeah, I feel like the New York Times.
What did you mess up?
2 episodes ago, so about a month ago, we had Carter Wadle on for our we did I Do, right?
Yeah.
And during that episode, I said that I made reference to a time in my past when I used to party with 2008 NBA MVP Dwayne Wade.
Yes.
Former Lost on Lost guest and a friend of both you and me, Noah Totsky. He texted me. Actually, he Snapchatted me after the episode premiered, and he informed me that I had made a tragic mistake.
Oh, what was the mistake?
So I said that I used to party with 2008 NBA MVP Dwayne Wade. It turns out that he was not the 2008 NBA MVP. He was the 2006 NBA Finals MVP.
Wow.
So I've been telling this anecdote wrong for...
What? How does it feel to be canceled?
Dude, I mean... I never thought I would find myself in this position.
How embarrassing!
And what I need to do is I need to apologize to all the people that this has affected, which is only Carter, because I told him this story 10,000 times.
You've been telling this story for so long that you've told it to me. I forgot it, and then you got to tell it to me for the first time again.
Yes. So, turns out Dwayne Wade is the 2006 NBA Finals MVP, not the 2008 NBA MVP. And so, I just had to make that right. So appreciate the call out, Noah.
For that huge NBA/Lost crossover audience that we have that was so mad. I suppose that does describe Noah.
That's exactly Noah.
Yeah, and Nick Brandel.
And Nick Brandel, yeah. Cody Brandel.
Okay.
He was probably screaming at his car radio on the way to... The other little bit of business I want to get into before we get started is we have our first listener question.
Oh, is it either of our moms?
It is not.
Is it why we don't call more?
We should probably both call home more.
Definitely.
But no, it comes from my little bro Chris Danger Waters.
Nice.
Yeah, he emailed us over at wearelostonlost@gmail.com, where you can email us your questions if you ever have them. But he asked us, in each episode of Lost on Lost, we talk about the episode is written by whoever, Damon Lindelof, Carlton Cuse, directed by whoever, Stephen Willis, and every episode is directed by a different person. Now he knew that each episode of TV would be written by a different person, but he doesn't understand. His question is, why does each episode have a different director?
Very good question. Yeah.
And this just, I work in TV, so I kind of forgot that this isn't common knowledge, but there's one very primary and important reason why they do this. And it's primarily scheduling.
Yeah.
Making television is a huge undertaking. It involves hundreds of people, just like a film. But the primary difference between a film and an episode of television is that when you're making a movie, you spend some time prepping, scouting locations, tech scouting, doing punch up on the script, casting, blah 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 blah, doing all that stuff. As soon as that stuff's over, you start shooting. You shoot the movie. As soon as the movie's over, you and the director and the editor and the producers head off to the post-production, and they cut it up and they send it out to theaters. In TV, we have all those same steps, but the thing about each episode of television is that as soon as you finish prepping one episode, you got to start prepping the next one.
Right. Yeah, it does. There's a ton of overlap in terms of you need to be shooting constantly and Meanwhile, stuff still needs to be edited, stuff still needs to be pre-produced, and the one person can't deal with all three phases of production simultaneously.
Yeah. So you have 3 directors working on a show at any given time. You have one director prepping while one director shooting. And while those 2 are doing that, the 3rd director is in post-production on their episode. And that's all happening in the same 8 to 10 given days of a shooting schedule.
And especially, I mean, that still happens very common today, but also, I mean, this is in the day of like 22 plus episodes per season. So that's like directing like 11 movies, like simultaneously.
Right. Which would be bonkers for one person to do.
Right.
So that's the big reason, Chris, scheduling. It's too much for one director, and there's so much lost that needs to be made. They had to get Kevin Hooks to do one episode.
That's a good question, though. That's like a serious question. It's not like, would you give Bernard a reach around, which is what I was expecting, but like...
Yeah, and we 100% appreciate real questions just as much as we appreciate joke questions. So thank you so much, Chris. One last piece of business. I want to thank not only Chris, but several other folks have dropped us. They bought us a coffee. We've got the coffee tip jar over at ko-fi.com/we are lost on lost. And so, thanks for the tips. Thanks for the coffees, y'all. Keep them coming. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you.
The exchange rate is 1 Los Angeles coffee to 77 Milwaukee coffees. So do with that information what you will.
We should probably put that on the coffee page.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. Today we are talking about Confidence Man, the 8th episode of Season 1 and the 8th episode overall. Our centric character is James Sawyer Ford. Confidence Man takes place on the 9th and 10th days after the crash of Oceanic 815. JP.
Yes.
You got the recap ready?
I got that recap ready.
All right. Give us the recap.
We dive into the pre-crash life of world's worst collared con man Sawyer, or whatever the fuck his real name is. Jack tries to solve the medical woes of future dead siblings Boone and Shannon. Saeed gets his hands and Sawyer's hands a little dirty. Sun proves once again that she's the only real adult in the room, and Charlie's losing his goddamn mind. Perfect. Our guest today is a one Mike Heyer. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself. We usually like to start with asking our guests, are they a fan of Lost? Did you watch Lost in its original run?
I did. I watched it as it was airing. I'm a fan of definitely parts of the show. Certainly the first season. I'm kind of happy that you guys gave me an episode from the season that I consider to be the show's best. But overall, I enjoyed the show for all of its problems, and those are my problems. I mean, if you, I haven't listened to the rest of this podcast, so if you guys are doing nothing but praising it,
no, I would say that's not exactly where we're at.
Okay. Well, it's not a perfect show, but it's certainly an entertaining one. So I enjoyed it.
That's a pretty good way to put it. Yeah.
And Mike, you are well. Tell us about yourself a little bit. What do you do?
I lived and worked in LA for 4 years. I think I worked on a bunch of different TV shows, and then I moved back to Wisconsin, and now I have a boring office job by day, and then by night I work as a podcaster with my friend Noah.
Is this local celebrity Noah Totsky?
It is. He was on your show.
Yeah, very good.
Mike, what TV do you get into currently? Like, what's your go-to like sort of TV watch nowadays? Here, 15 years after Lost has been ongoing.
I'm still into mystery box stuff. One of our listeners submitted a thing to our podcast for me to watch the German TV show Dark, which you can see on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is right up my alley, and especially if you're into Lost, I thoroughly recommend it. It's got time travel, it's got dead kids, which I'm saying is a positive, but it's not really a positive.
Is fucking Carl Winslow just running around going, I shot a kid?
No, it's really good. It's Stranger Things meets True Detective.
Ooh.
I heavily encourage anybody who's into Lost to check that out for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I heard you guys talking about that just a couple of weeks ago, and it had been on my list of things to watch for a long time, and I was like, oh, actually, I've actually now heard somebody else watch the show, so that moves it up, actually hearing other people talk about it and praise it. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Good stuff. Should we get into it? Should we talk about...
Let's get into it.
Let's talk about this older show that used to be on the air. Confidence Man originally aired on November 10th, 2004. It was written by Big Damon Lindelof.
Yeah.
Who we've talked about a little bit before, and Tucker Gates, who we've also mentioned once or twice in the past. Damon Lindelof is, I think, probably a more recognizable name than Tucker Gates, but Tucker Gates is a working TV director, did a handful of Alias, did a handful of Lost, went on to do the new Bates Motel, did some couple episodes of The Orville. He did the morning show.
Did he do any Quantum Leap?
No Quantum
Then I
Leap.
don't give a fuck what he did.
Can I just mention the credits were going, and the cinematographer on this episode is a guy named Larry Fong, and I'm like, I recognize that name, so I IMDb'd him, and he went on to shoot most of Zack Snyder's movies.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I was like, there's a little, like, you know, good for him for still working.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. I feel like the show, like Lost, I don't think we've really talked about this before. Mike brings up a good point. I feel like this there was a decent crop of people that worked on the show in different capacities who went on to do bigger and better things. We had already mentioned in the past Drew Goddard, who went on to create Daredevil, and he wrote The Martian or something like that.
Yep.
So, like, there were, Larry Fong. There was a handful of people who went on to do a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think I just have an unhealthy relationship with Batman versus Superman for whatever reason. So I must have seen the.
It's very much a love-hate thing with Mike.
It is.
Is that's not the Snyder Cut thing? That's Justice League, right?
No, that's Justice League,
Okay.
which I just saw like a thing or a headline for or whatever that cut is gonna be 4 hours long.
And they're gonna release it in 4 weekly 1 hour chunks. I saw like it's a goddamn TV show. Like get fucked. What are you doing?
I can't even I don't know what people are going to assume that cut of Justice League is going to be, but like it's not going to fix it.
Oh no.
There's a musical number in the middle.
I hope.
I hope that everybody watches it and they're like, this is Oscar worthy. What the fuck happened? Oh god. All right, let's fucking do it. This episode, I'm glad we're doing a season 1 episode because on the show here we've had a string of not season 1 episodes.
Yeah, it's been a little rough.
Which having not season 1 episodes this early in the podcast run is leaning into the premise of the show pretty heavily. JP and I are totally spun around. And it's nice to kind of get back to maybe like sort of some foundational information about what's going on in this show.
This was a dumb idea for a podcast.
Who's dumber, the guy who came up with it or the guy who was like, let's fucking do it? That's actually a really good idea.
Well, it was interesting watching the episode because there's obviously a lot of stuff that either pays off or doesn't pay off as you watch the show. Mm-hmm. And so to see John Locke as kind of this enigmatic mystery figure versus like the big bad at the end of the show was really interesting. Yeah. Because I hadn't gone back. I can't remember the last time. I probably watched this episode when it originally aired and I haven't seen it since. So it's kind of cool. It's like, it's like throwing the end of a movie on or something while you're eating, which I don't do that. Who does that? I jog and eat at the same time. But like, it's really interesting to go, oh my god, going back to your recap, JP, I forgot Boone's name for most of the episode.
He's pretty forgettable.
But then out loud to myself, I was like, how does he die? And just couldn't remember. So I'll listen to your podcast to eventually figure it out.
One of the best parts about Boone's death is that we
also don't know how he dies. We saw the first episode of the show after the pilot was the episode where he dies.
Oh.
But we don't know what caused it.
Whatever caused it was in the episode before that. So we're just watching Boone die. No idea what happened to him. Oh, God.
So anytime he's on
awesome.
screen, I'm just like, all right, let's just get to the next scene here. I don't fucking care.
I was talking with Haas last night. We've subjected ourselves to a lot of character death here in the first 10 or 11 episodes of the show.
For sure.
Boone's dead, Shannon's dead,
Echo's dead.
Echo's dead, Ana Lucia's dead, Libby's dead.
Yeah.
This is all happening real early.
Now, how many of those were because the actors got arrested for drunk driving and then got fired? Doesn't that happen to a bunch?
It's at least 2. The producers never went out and said flat out, "Hey, we're firing Michelle Rodriguez and Cynthia Watros because they got DUIs," but it did not help their.
It's not that.
Yeah, it's not that, but it certainly didn't help. The sad thing about Echo leaving was Adewale just didn't want to be in Hawaii for that long anymore, and so he just was like, "I'm done being on Lost. One season was good enough for me," and they wrote him out.
How do you not want to be in Hawaii?
I mean, he's an English actor. I think he lives in London most of the time anyway, so I think that might be part of it.
That'll do it.
But yeah, so this episode opens with Sawyer in bed with a lady.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this counts as a hot tropical hookup, but this ups
so.
Sawyer's body count to 3 now.
Yeah.
So this woman, he's talking with her. Sawyer's talking with this woman. Her name's Jessica, and he's doing the bedroom eyes, doing the pillow talk, and everything like that. And then she mentions to him some sort of meeting he's got to run off to, and he's running late. And it's like, oh, it's at 3:30. Oh, it's 3:28.
Oh, cue the Saved by the Bell theme.
I bet you're wondering how I got here. Here's the thing. This deal. This is a $300,000 deal.
Yeah, it's like an oil. It's an oil deal, right?
Yeah. No planet. I do not care how much you like this woman that you're hooking up with. No way would you forget to set some sort of alarm to go to this meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
No way would you be like, it's in 2 minutes. She'd be like, don't you have a meeting at 3:30? Yeah, who cares? Well, it's 2:45. Shouldn't you get your shit together? Oh, yeah, I probably should.
Yeah, there is a definite sort of overall ambiance in this, especially in this scene, that he just started being a confidence man. That's
Right.
what I assume.
Right?
But then not only that, the woman is the dumbest mark in the history of marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous to have her be like, what?
Bunnies?
Yeah. You have a briefcase?
This fucking briefcase trick that he pulls, where he pulls it off the thing and it pops open. He's like, oh, you weren't supposed to see that. He does that more than once in this show. It's his go-to con.
Really?
And it's the dumbest fucking trick. It's so dumb.
I don't remember him doing it. I don't remember him doing it more than once. I definitely know that the fact that he has a conscience, he'd be dead.
Oh, yeah.
From what I know about narrative confidence men, the minute you develop a conscience is the minute you start getting chased and hunted and stuff.
Right. That's the thing that happens at the end of close to the end of the first act, which actually leads to the rest of the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to learn throughout this whole thing, Sawyer's sort of inner demons are very confused in his own head in terms of he's dealing with a lot of stuff. He's got a lot of maturing to do. I feel like Sawyer doesn't know how to be an adult super well because his ability to be a con man isn't great, but then also what's going on the island, what he subjects himself to is overall just meaningless. So I don't know. Sawyer's got a lot of growing up to do in my eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if you guys want to jump forward to the torture sequence, but that's the single dumbest thing that happens in this episode as far as I'm concerned.
Let's cover that when we switch over to the island stuff. But yeah, I feel like we're probably all going to be in agreement on that note.
Yeah.
Sawyer ropes Jessica into this thing. He just hook, line, and sinker. She falls for it. Like you said, dumbest mark ever. She's just like, well, what if my husband had a bunch of money and could get into this oil scam with you? Would that help?
What if I created another meeting for you?
So do either of you recognize her husband?
I do. but I couldn't tell you from what.
So that is Michael DeLuise. That's Dom DeLuise's son, one of his two sons.
Yeah.
I was introduced to him in Sequest DSV.
Oh my God.
And
Yes.
but he went on, you look at his IMDb, he has done a ton of television writing.
Oh, really?
He did a lot of Stargate SG-1.
Oh.
He was also in Gilmore Girls. He's just like a bit part actor, but he's done a ton of writing and producing on the back end. So the guy's done a lot of Hollywood.
Yeah, this guy's
definitely
got a
recognize
ton
him.
of stuff. Oh.
Yeah, I definitely recognized him for sure.
Yeah.
As
I
one of those,
really just wanted to
hey,
bring up Sequest DSV and Stargate. So like that's the only reason I bring it up.
This good thing to bring up, which brings me to, by looking at his IMDb, he was also an Encino Man, which is pretty neat.
Wow. Is he a caveman?
I think he's one of the jock dickheads that harasses Sean Astin the entire time.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Anytime you can bring up a Encino Man on a Lost podcast, you're doing okay.
And we can check that segment off the list for today.
Mention Encino Man, check and double check. So Sawyer and Jessica go to meet with the husband, David Michael DeLuise. In a tour de force performance. I wrote this down, and I always write down in capital letters when I have a note that I make sure I don't want to forget. Sawyer looks like a con man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why would anybody ever go into business with him? He's wearing a suit and a tie, but he's got slicked back, chin-length hair, and 9 days worth of stubble on his face. No, this guy's not a businessman. He's a fucking grifter.
Like,
and
I
he
literally
looks
wrote
like it.
Because we see everyone so disheveled, on the beach, and everyone's, whatever. Like, yeah, putting on a suit and tie and a collared shirt, like, looks great for him. However, he still looks like a fucking scumbag.
Right. And he's the only person whose off-island appearance and on-island appearance is exactly the same.
My favorite part about that is at the end of like the scene, he's like, you know what, guys, you're obviously not for this. Forget it. I'm gonna walk away. And then he stands up and he gets like 3 steps before the husband is like, wait. And then he gets this like Cheshire cat smile on his face that a normal person would notice is way too long to not be looking at them. Like, it's like the guy is like sitting there and I wanted him to be like, are you smiling? Are you...
Did you hear me? Are you...
Yeah, did you... Come on. Do you want to turn around?
Why are you spending 20 seconds not looking at our table? Like, you've stopped walking.
Do you have a con man boner? What?
It's such a small thing, and obviously it's a TV show, so
Right.
That's not what you should be focusing on. But it was one of those things where I was like, okay, if I didn't realize that he was a grifter, like until that point, that's what sealed it.
Yeah, and we learned immediately after this, if it wasn't impossibly obvious to the audience, that he is in fact a con man. We see him meet with someone who's bankrolling part of this operation at a pool hall, and basically just spells out the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And he's mad too. He's gonna put the juice on. Like, Sawyer's got to pay up tomorrow plus 50% because he's done with Sawyer's shit.
Right.
And he knows how to make people hurt. Pokes him under the chin with a pool cue, and I'm just like, I'm intimidated here sitting on my couch.
Ooh. Shaking in my booties.
But like, honestly, do we need that scene? I know it's essential in the mind of the show, but like, really, what's accomplished by it?
Right.
Well, so I asked the same thing, and I think it plays into something with the next scene. If we just want to jump right into that, where he's trying to seal the deal with his potential marks.
No, I would love to hear the answer to this question, because I agree with Mike on this.
Well, okay, so he is about to seal the deal with the couple who he's about to rip off, and then apparently he's stricken with the fucking dead zone when he sees this child, and just locks up and can't do it because he sees himself in this child and doesn't want to subject the child to what he went through. correct me if I'm wrong, when he storms out of their mansion, he leaves both briefcases. He doesn't have the money.
He does. Yeah.
Then I need to fucking start paying more attention.
No. You're right. He does not take either briefcase.
Yep.
Sure. Okay.
He is so stricken with conscience that
not only does he
runs
leave, he leaves David's money there, but then he also leaves the money that he was hypothetically supposed to pay back to this loan shark. Like, that's hot.
Right. So I'm guessing that, like, if we get another Sawyer flashback, he will be dealing with that loan shark, would be my guess. I mean, we know that he ends up in Australia, so I don't know if that has, that plays up into it, but...
not really. I remember the reason why he ends up in Australia, and it's not really related to this dude. It's a different thing that's happening in Sawyer's whatever.
Okay, whatever.
I couldn't stand the reveal of the kid because the idea that this is the first time that that's happened to him,
right,
is ludicrous, especially if his whole thing is to have sex with women and then drive them into this con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The odds that they're all childless.
Yep. Single, no kids, or married, no kids, like just
right,
especially if part of the grift is like either hooking up with rich women or hooking up with rich married women to burn their husbands, like
right.
Yeah, does he go on Craigslist and just like look for married couples, no kids?
Yeah, must have no kids dash trauma related dash mine not yours.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but like that fucking kid, they clearly had some performance issues because his one line that he delivers is done ADR, like off screen. Otherwise, it is just hobbled together shots of this kid looking confused, to say the least. The kids, they're like, oh, you gotta be scared or be innocent, or like, does he have The Shining? I don't know.
It's not great. It's not necessarily the kid's fault, but like most kids can't act. They just don't have the skills. Acting is a skill, and it's like a muscle. You got to exercise it. Most kids don't know how to do that. Most kids can listen to an adult say, do this, and then they do that to the best of their ability.
Fuck that, man. What was that movie with Steve Carell, the little Miss Sunshine? That little girl was fantastic. She was about the same age.
Well, and that, like I said, most children, there are a lot of talented child actors, and Abigail Breslin, obviously one of them.
Get her for that role. She would have been great. Was she even born yet? Probably not.
She might have been a little bit too much of an ask considering what the part entailed. It's like, just stand there.
Just contact Abigail Breslin's agent. Yeah, we got a one-liner on Lost. All you got to say is, "Are you my real dad?" or something. I don't even know what the part is. But we'll get you $7,000 for the day. And the agent's like, "Do you know who you're calling about?"
Yeah. You're calling about Little Miss Sunshine, man.
The title character, Little Miss Sunshine. Figure it out.
Even when the kid walks into the room, they're like, "What are you doing up, slugger?" or whatever.
It's the middle
of the day. And she's like, "Are you feeling better?" I'm like, "We're establishing a lot of backstory for this fucking kid that doesn't even have a real line."
Kid's nocturnal.
Yeah, there you go.
That would actually way creepier. We don't know why he's here. He usually sleeps during the day. and then Sawyer runs out terrified, and now we've got a whole new layer. It's a vampire kid.
Is that your son? We don't have a son, but a little boy died here 40 years ago.
Oh, man.
And that's pretty much the end of the flashback.
Yeah, I think so.
Sawyer's a bad con man.
Yeah, not great at it. It seems like. So let's talk about what's happening on the island. Day 9.
Yeah, Sawyer's not great at doing island stuff either.
God, except like being nude. This is a primary island thing that if I were stranded on a tropical island, it would not take me until day 9 to be walking around with my shirt off all the time. I don't know why all the male characters are not topless constantly.
And they're wearing fucking like jeans.
Yep.
No, if I would have spent more than 20 minutes fucking on a tropical island, deserted, jorts immediately. I don't fucking care.
Right. Locke's got the case knives, cut off the legs of every pair of jeans.
Yes.
It's practical and it's awesome.
Jack starts to rip off all of his sleeves, but I think that's to show his hideous tattoo.
I can't wait to watch Stranger in a Strange Land. It's going to be so much fun. So Sawyer's bathing or whatever, or just swimming, or I don't know. But Kate comes in and sees him, and she comes out, and we get a little bit of dick talk, like, "Oh, it must be cold." And he's like, "Oh, you have no idea," or whatever. But this is creepy behavior from Sawyer.
Yes, like, it really is.
Not the first time. Certainly won't be the last time. But like, he's like, he could have been like, "Hey, Kate, I'm naked. I'm going to come out of the water. If you want to see my dong, please stay there. But if you would rather not, I want to give you the opportunity to turn away or leave." He does not do that. Just walks out with a shit-eating grin on his face. Look at my dick. Gross.
The first time that she says something to the effect of like, "What do you want?" And well, unfortunately, he doesn't reply with a Whopper Jr. But like, you know, he replies with, you know, how about a kiss? You know, and while like it's kind of like, that's gross.
Yeah.
I could see how if you were to just say it once, like it could be like, okay, if somebody's into that sort of more aggressive, straightforward behavior, that's fine.
Right.
The amount of times that he asks specifically for a kiss and says the word kiss, it's borderline no, it's not borderline.
I would
it's not borderline.
Yep. It's just straight up gross.
Yeah.
The thing about it is obviously realizing how damaged Sawyer is like, you know, is he doing it on purpose because he's trying to be creepy, or is he unaware? Whatever. It's probably
right.
He's likely doing it on purpose to be a jerk and to be, you know, he wants to be hated and all that kind of stuff. But he comes up. The big takeaway, the most important thing about this little moment here is not Sawyer's butt crack, not his sexual harassment of Kate. It's that he has a book on his stuff. Watership Down. It's about bunnies. I was gonna be super smug about this, and like I watched this episode yesterday afternoon, and I was like, "Oh, Watership Down. I've never read that. I don't have a job. I could probably read Watership Down before we record this podcast episode tomorrow." I got about 60 pages into it.
Really?
That's pretty good though.
It's not what, and the so far the part I've read is pretty good, and I'm gonna finish reading it. But it's I think a little bit more. It's not only about bunnies.
In the way that like Of Mice and Men isn't really about bunnies.
Well, it's an allegory, JP. It's you know,
well, it's funny because the in the description of Watership Down that I was reading before I bought it, it's like, oh, it's an important allegory about survival and like community and banding together and blah 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 blah. And I'm reading the introduction to the actual book, and the author is like, I wrote this story as a story to entertain my daughters on a car ride.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, so it's not.
What if the book that it washed up was like Bette Midler's autobiography?
You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings.
Yeah, it's like, did you know that Bette Midler lived in that Cape Cod for 6 months before filming Beaches?
It would have been better if, regardless of what the book was, Sawyer said it was still about bunnies.
What do you got there? Oh, it's a copy of Infinite Jest. Yeah, it's about bunnies.
It is about bunnies. Are you reading this? Do you know how to read? Yeah.
That is a recurring thing, at least for us. This is now the second time we've seen Sawyer just kind of kicking back, enjoying reading. And if you were to look at him just at face value, based on his actions, I'd be like, I don't know if he can read.
Yeah. I know he can read stacks of money.
That's right.
Yeah.
Read this paper. Oh God! The reason the book is important is we come to find out that this book belonged to resident lame-o Boone Carlyle.
And you want to talk about a guy who doesn't know how to read?
Yeah, Christ.
This is
for sure.
Yeah. This is a guy who, unlike Sawyer, who pretends to read because he doesn't want people to know he can't read. Boone is the type of guy who's just like, yeah, I can't read. Big fucking deal.
Yeah,
Delta Tie
baby.
cow, bro.
Yeah.
So Shannon is having asthma attacks, and Boone suspects that Sawyer has her asthma medication because it was in the luggage that also contained that book. And they do the fucking thing that we've talked about before in the show, where instead of just going to Sawyer and asking, hey, did you happen to get that in the luggage? Hey, do you know where this asthma medication is? My sister needs it. She's sick. He just starts fucking rummaging through his stuff. He's been watching Jack a little bit too much. And Sawyer fucking rightfully beats the shit out of him.
Tunes him up. Yeah, fuck this guy. Like... Every time Boone has something bad happen to him, 95% of the time he had it coming. Like,
yeah.
No, when Boone wanders into the caves, I'll beat the fuck. I'm like, yeah, what did you think was gonna happen, Boone? Like,
right.
Sawyer is like clearly a badass man. Like, look at his hair, look at his stubble, look at
and
you.
he's already like separating himself from the group because he doesn't seem to like everybody, or he doesn't get along with them.
And the feelings reciprocated. Like, nobody really likes him either. In the first week and a half that he's been on the island, he hasn't ingratiated himself with the survivors, and so yeah, the separation there's a reason there.
Yeah, same with the people on the show. We don't really fucking like him either. So like, I'm glad that he's away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think this episode is trying really hard to make you like think that Sawyer is a badass, and it just doesn't stick the landing on almost any of the points.
Well, because it tries to, I think it tries to ride the fence. It tries to make Sawyer a bit of an anti-hero. Like, yeah, look at all this shitty shit he does and all this stuff. But then we get to the end when we talk about the letter, and it's like, oh, but he's got trauma, and it's all this, there's reasons behind all of his bad behavior and blah blah blah. And yeah, it softens the edges of the badassery too much, and they don't lean hard into the trauma aspect of it. And so yeah, we get to the end of it, and we're like, no, we still don't like Sawyer, despite the fact that, even though he's got all these reasons for being a piece of shit, like, he's still a piece of shit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So this leads into Boone is like, he's got the medicine, he gets the shit beat out of him, and so Jack is just like, oh, well, I'm tougher than Boone, I'll go beat the shit out of Sawyer and take it.
Well, but even before that, like Jack calms Shannon down. Or is that the next?
It all kind of like
right. It's all around the same point.
Yeah, like Jack goes and makes like an initial attempt to get the medicine from Sawyer without resorting to violence or whatever, or savagery, as he puts it.
But it's the same thing.
Not yet.
He doesn't even say, Sawyer, I need to talk to you about something very serious. He just starts fucking rummaging through his shit.
Walks into his tent in front of him. Not even like Boone, where Boone waited until Sawyer was away from his stash to go through it. Jack just walks into his tent. Sawyer's sitting there reading the book, and he's just digging through his stuff. Oh, well, nice to see you too, Doc. Like,
yeah, Jack. Jack always takes everything to a fucking 11 to start, and then tries to walk it back. And it's like, dude, some fucking diplomacy, maybe.
But yes.
Well, they're not perfect people, man. They're real.
John Locke's fucking perfect. I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
The thing is, yeah, like most shows, TV shows, movies, whatever, like, your characters are never perfect. In this instance, I would have loved to have one perfect character on this show.
Fair enough.
Just one. You got a main cast of 13. Give me one fucking angel. Come on.
Yeah. The
Hurley.
thing that...
Yeah.
He can't be an angel, man. He's fat. There's no fat angels.
Oh, God.
That's
that show with Della Reese, right?
Yeah. So the other thing about that scene where Jack goes to confront him and does it in the worst possible way is right when they're reaching a boiling point. Kate just comes in out of fucking nowhere and it's like, guys, stop. And it's like... were you just like waiting? Were you just like sitting there like, it's not yet. Ah.
And 99% of the time, they're so dismissive of what Kate has to say or what she's doing. Mm-hmm. But in this instance, like, oh, we can't fight in front of Kate. And like you said earlier, Mike, Kate's just like whatever the show needs in that moment. Mm-hmm. She's so fucking inconsistent in terms of like, do people care about her? Do they not? Is she vested in people? Is she not? I don't know. Kate's just there as a fucking piece of exposition.
Yeah. I gotta wonder if the writers like fought every time. They're like, okay, and Kate enters the scene. What is her first line? Are you boys fighting over little old me? They're like, no, we can't do that. Let's make it less obvious.
Well, at some point, and I don't know if it's after this, like directly after this scene, Jack goes to Kate and Kate says something about how Sawyer thinks that they have a connection. Mm-hmm. And Jack's response is to be like, well, do you? And it's like, bro, I get that you may be insecure, but like, you're a fucking spinal surgeon. You'll be fine. Yeah. Like, right. Jesus Christ.
Well, and we get
I
to...
fucking laughed out loud when that happened.
It's ridiculous.
Give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The entire conflict on the island stems from the fact that no one ever straight up asks Sawyer, do you have the medicine?
Yes.
They just ask, where is it? And he's so goddamn stubborn and wants to be a victim, wants to be hated, wants to, I don't fucking know what he is.
It's like all of it.
But
he wants both at the same time. He wants to be both hated and a victim.
So like he just never corrects them. He's just like, okay, I'll play these fuck games. Since you all assume that I'm that big of a piece of shit that I would withhold this medicine, I'll just keep letting you play that narrative out.
Well, and that he brings that to their attention finally when Jack reaches his boiling point and he's like, all right, well, he's got it. We got to make him talk. Saeed hears, I think somebody's going to torture somebody. Maybe I should insert myself into the narrative.
Sorry, torture?
Torture?
Anyone?
Are you guys talking about torture?
Yeah.
I swore I'd never do this again, but it's so goddamn fun.
And so, like, Jack enlists Saeed. Saeed volunteers himself. Let's fucking torture Sawyer. And they go and they tie him up to a bamboo tree.
But before that, really quick, that's when he goes to calm down Shannon. They do that breathing exercise, and it's very good. It gets her calmed down. He's like, and then he says something to Boone, like, don't let her panic.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he stands up and he's like, now I'm going to go torture someone. Like, it's
right.
fucking 180. Like, I'm so caring. And we need to stay calm. Now I'm going to go be reckless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Hurley there, being the good guy. Dude, that was like a Jedi moment. Like,
yeah.
The innocence within him. Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He just wanted to say Jedi because they could get away with it because Disney owns ABC.
Well, I mean, this was way before, yeah.
Yeah, this was way before the merger.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
I know it's hard to think of a world where Disney didn't own everything, but...
Yeah.
Back in the halcyon days.
Yeah.
When all our media was not created by one company. Oh,
it's fine.
It's okay. I'm sure it'll be okay. I'm sure it will. So they drag Sawyer and Jack or Saeed and Jack drag Sawyer off into the woods to torture him. Saeed starts making the fingernail things, the bamboo shoots. He's like, we didn't have bamboo in Iraq, but we had reeds. It's basically the same thing. And then there's the moment there where they're like, it doesn't have to be this way. Just tell us. And Sawyer's like, yes, it does. This is how it has to go. And he's got a point, despite the fact that he's been such a shitheel the entire time. This is the only logical conclusion for this to play out, as people have just been assuming he's the bad guy the entire time. It'd be one thing if they would have come to him at the beginning and be like, have you seen the medicine? You saw the book. Did you see the inhalers?
Right.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
They treated him like the bad guy, so he's got to play the bad guy until the end, in his head anyway.
I also, this is going back to my Larry Fong piece of trivia. out of all of the scenes in this episode, the torture scene looks the coolest. Like, the set looks really cool, and like Sawyer down on his knees looks, super cool. And there, even though the actual like minutia of the scene is kind of ridiculous and stupid, I at least wasn't bored looking at it.
Yeah, no doubt. It was visually compelling. I would agree with you there.
Yeah.
Which leads me to a technical note that I have. I just wrote this in the margin here. This is the opposite of this. This episode has some horrible punching sound effects.
Oh, yeah.
When Sawyer's napping and Saeed goes to kidnap him, and from his tent, he wakes up and he goes, oh, sneak up on a guy when you're napping. And he's like, oh, good morning. And he hits him with what I think is a pipe or a tree branch or a stick, some sort of blunt object. But the sound effect that comes with it is not what you'd expect. Then that continues through the rest of the episode. Anytime somebody gets hit, it's just this, it's almost like the same sound effect, and it's just a weird punch. It's like, I don't know.
Since we're talking about some technical stuff, I'm gonna bitch about cinematography.
Oh, do you want to do a
second.
quick? This is a recurring Lost on Lost segment called JP bitches about cinematography for 45 seconds.
How dare you bitch about my friend Larry Fong?
No, I was gonna say I really enjoyed the lighting in the pool hall scene. The like ratio that they had on Sawyer's face was fantastic, and using the practical fixture in the foreground as the lone shark guy is walking around it is really, really good. But we have more island stuff like we do in every fucking episode, with shit that is just out of focus. And it's not because I understand when characters like stand up, sit down, move laterally, whatever, like. Yeah. There's always times where you might roll focus soft. When Charlie is talking to Hurley, he's just 100% out of focus. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That was bad enough that I noticed it, and I was wondering if you were going to bring it up.
So also when he says the line, "I don't have it," to Kate, because his hair is in front of his eyes, so it's harder to focus on the eyes. They're like focusing on his lips, and his eyes aren't in focus. And it's just like, I understand production in Hawaii and like dealing with exteriors. You are limited for how much time you have, so rehearsals aren't as prevalent, but still get shit in focus.
Right. Like it, yeah. Yeah. So this has been another segment of JP bitches about cinematography for 45 seconds.
It's mostly just bitching about focus.
But like, yeah, I want to, at some point, once we've finished wrapping the show, I want to go back and count how many times this segment recurred, because, just get it in focus.
There's times, especially over like the last 3 episodes, where I wrote it down as a note and didn't even bring it up in the record because I'm just like, I'm not going to bitch about focus again. But I
want you to continue doing it.
Yeah, I brought it back for a special occasion just for Mike.
Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.
Christ. So the torture happens, and the Sawyer's like, you know what? I give up. I give Uncle. I will tell you where the medicine is, but I'm only gonna tell her. Can't even use her goddamn name. There's 20 women on the island that survived. I'm gonna tell her. So they go get her. He's like,
well, they knew it wasn't gonna be Claire because Claire doesn't fucking do anything.
It could have been Rose.
Yeah, that's true.
God, which one was Rose?
She's the secondary character, the older black woman.
Who's looking for her husband?
Yeah, I love Rose too.
Yep.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
He's like, yeah, like I'll tell her. And so they go get Kate, and he's like, how about that kiss? It's only a kiss. Lucky for you, I ain't greedy. Lucky for her, you're not a rapist? What the fuck, man? Like, that's even like, I could have said, you gotta fuck me, and then I'll give you the asthma medication.
Yeah.
You fucking suck, Sawyer. You suck 100 times over.
So
God.
bad.
This is absolutely something that just and maybe it would be in TV today, but like this specific moment shows how dated some of the show is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
that shit would never fly today.
No, and like it shouldn't fly.
Or it would. The only way it would fly is if it was a line delivered by the big bad, painted with the evil brush. Like we know from minute 1 of this episode, this is the bad guy, and he's gonna end up in jail by the end of it. He can say that line.
Yeah,
not
for
this guy that we aren't sure if we like or not, because all you're doing is making us not like him.
Exactly. And really, like, how horny do you have to be? You were just tortured. Mm-hmm. Like, like painful enough that your stubbornness like wore out and you actually were like, no, stop. And now the first thing that you think of is, I gotta stick my tongue in her mouth. Like, it's like, God, you fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
I wrote that as a note. I was like, too much tongue too fast.
Yeah. He knew it was the last thing he was going to get,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The last 2 episodes he's gotten some, so.
Right? And then Jack runs into the reeds and is like, did you enjoy that? Like,
well, Jack's, I wrote this down when Saeed is talking about something to the effect of that, Sawyer's probably the one that destroyed the radio. And Jack says, well, you don't know that. I'm like, well, you also don't fucking know if he has the inhalers, Mr. Presumptuous. Like,
right.
Decide what your fucking stance is on this guy.
Right. Are we going to assume he's a bad guy, or are we actually going to find things out?
Yeah, because you guys have kind of hit the nail on the head. I'm sure that was kind of the point of the episode, was people treat Sawyer shitty, so that's why he's a shitty person. But if that's the case, the whole thing with the kid in the flashbacks shouldn't be a big fucking deal.
Right, yeah. That shouldn't matter.
Yeah, and it does. So if he has a conscience, why is the rest of the island stuff taking place?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The letter... The big reveal of the letter or whatever is like Kate's like, oh, I looked at the letter. When we first talked about the letter, the first time that Kate went to try to get the medicine from him, he's like, read this letter, it'll tell you all about me. And she reads it. I never got go ahead, Mike.
But he does it in that stupid Sawyer bullshit dialogue way where he's like, don't stop now, sweet cheeks. And you're just like, why do you have to be fucking creepy with her reading a letter? Like,
yeah,
read it out loud for the audience.
Do it. It's like, you weirdo. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but she does read it out loud on his insistence, and it reads like a child wrote it. At no point would I have thought like she's at the end of the episode. She's like, this letter wasn't written to you. You wrote it, and I was like, oh, did we not know that? But maybe that's just like my residual memories of the show seeping into it. But like, I was like, yeah, he wrote it. Like that sounds like a letter written by a child who grows into a 40-year-old man who pretends to read.
Right, but the whole thing is he writes this letter so that someday when he gets to the man that
Mr.
did
Sawyer
this to his parents, like I'll let it slide that like maybe he spent so much time thinking about this world of con men and like catching this one con man that he fell into that world. Okay, I'll let that slide. But then to assume the guy's name as like this guilt thing of like, well, I became what I hated, so I have to take his name too. That's just, I don't know. It's childish. It's just, it's too much for me to believe that someone would do that. That would be like Batman fucking growing up and calling himself the Joker. And then like, oh man, I went to fight crime, but I found out that I was the guy that fucking holds up people in alleyways now.
Yeah.
Or Mike, correct me out, who actually killed Bruce Wayne's parents?
Joe Chill.
Okay. Yeah, that would, instead of Batman, he gets called
it'd
Joe
be like
Chill.
if Bruce Wayne as a child saw his parents murdered by Joe Chill and then grew up to be Mr. Freeze.
That's very yes, that's better.
My big takeaway from this, and I think this will we can wrap up the discussion about the on island stuff, is look, kids. Everybody can benefit from therapy, whether or not you feel depressed or anxious or guilty or shame or anything like that. Even if you consider yourself to be a neurotypical, mentally healthy person, everybody can benefit from therapy. Everybody should go. Everybody should talk to a professional and just see what's going on in the old, brain box, because sometimes there's some shit in there that you don't know how to deal with. And I think the poster boy for that is one James Sawyer Ford.
Yes.
Yep.
Because had he at some point in his life before falling into this life of crime, tried to deal with some of the stuff that he had going on as a child, maybe we wouldn't be here. But I understand the stigma behind it, and I hopefully going to therapy and seeking help becomes more destigmatized as time goes by, because it'd be better for all of us to be able to know who we are and help each other be a better people or whatever.
That was really beautiful.
Was it? That's not what I meant to, like, I didn't mean to get all, like, after school special. I just wrote in big letters here. Listen, kids, everybody benefits from therapy.
Are you sitting backwards in your chair right now?
Yeah, with my feet up on my desk at the same time.
Cool.
Let's talk about the C plot with Charlie and Claire.
There's... Literally all I wrote was, this informs why he was such a jerk to Hurley about peanut butter. That's it.
So the caves are happening. Like this happens pretty early in the show. There's a secondary location away from the beach where the middle section has landed. The caves has fresh water. It's got shelter. It's got whatever. A bunch of people are moving to the caves. Charlie wants his not girlfriend Claire to move to the caves because he thinks it's be safer. That's where the doctor is. She's preggo. She's like, no, I'm still holding out hope to be rescued. It's only been a week and a half. Like, don't fucking give up. And he's like, no. And so he's like, they talk about the things they miss, food and warm towels. And Charlie's like, I can get peanut butter. And it's like, what fucking intercontinental flight carries jars of peanut butter? None. No flights. It's all prepackaged peanuts, prepackaged meals. They're not making PB&J sandwiches in the back at the flight attendant station, like one at a time with a knife and a jar, and then cutting the crusts off for the ornery passengers. If there was peanut butter,
what if they did?
That would be like service with a smile. Like so this Charlie Claire thing basically leads to Charlie going on a scavenger hunt for peanut butter. He goes to Hurley because he assumes Hurley has got his finger on the pulse of where all the food's stashed.
Because he's fat.
And Hurley calls him on it. So good for Hurley.
Yeah.
Bad for you, Charlie, for being a dick. Mm-hmm. And even after he apologized, he's like, yes, you're right. That was a shitty thing for me to say. I am sorry. My bad, dude. And Hurley's like, okay, apology accepted. And then Charlie just is like, so actually, can you about that peanut butter though?
Yeah. About that thing I just talked about.
But, Hurley's got a good point. You don't gain all of the weight overnight, so you don't lose it all overnight. Yeah. And he's down one notch in his belt. Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
I'm a big guy. It's going to take me a while. Exactly. And yeah, I was super annoyed with Charlie in that moment.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing culminates in basically like an improv comedy exercise with Charlie taking out an empty jar and being like, oh, it's peanut butter, and then like pretending to eat it. And Claire being like, I guess this is what I'm doing right now.
Yes, and I love peanut butter.
Yeah. That's what it reeked of to me.
Well, okay, so in the episode in Everybody Hates Hugo, I dunked on Claire for just fucking digging into the peanut butter with her goddamn grubby hands.
Dirty island hands, yeah.
Right, but now I see like that was sort of planted in her brain by Charlie, because he's digging his imaginary or his fingers in the imaginary peanut butter like that. I'm like, can you guys get a fucking like spoon or something? Yeah. I guarantee they're on the plane.
An imaginary spoon. Right. And another thing, much like the cigarettes, how the fuck did a mason jar make it?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. We're going to see in a later episode that the cigarettes and Sawyer's letter were in that jar, and that's why nothing's wet.
or it's like Dharma Initiative cigarettes and Dharma Initiative mason jars.
Oh, that'd be great.
Man. Oh, yeah. No, that's a perfect sum up for that, Mike.
It's like I was watching it and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. It's fine.
There's one last thing I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
When Sun helps Shannon with she sort of gets a bunch of plants and she rubs this like eucalyptus thing on her chest that's kind of like a Vicks vapor rub sort of thing, helps her breathe a little bit, and Jack fucking kneels down, dips his fingers in it, smells it, and goes, eucalyptus. Smart Jack. Fuck you, Jack. Smart son.
Right?
Like, this has nothing to do with you, but yeah, you didn't think of that. How about instead of thinking about yourself and, oh, why didn't I save somebody? Be like, hey, son, way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that her husband like walks in and sees her clearly helping someone. Like sees his wife clearly helping someone and is still like, and then like walks away. It's like, what the fuck? Oh, and there's a moment between him and Harold Perrineau. I forget his character name. Michael, where like Jin looks at him and Michael is like, don't. Just don't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he doesn't understand you.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
There's so much stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, early Jin, man. Early Jin is like, it helps with Jin's character arc because he's one of the characters that probably grows the most over the course of the show, but it's because he starts from such a lame place, like just being this domineering, overbearing husband, and Jin,
for sure,
son and all that. The episode wraps up with Saeed accidentally stabbed Sawyer in the arm, and I say accidentally because he probably intended to stab him in the heart.
Probably.
But Saeed's like, I did a shitty thing. I need to be punished. If nobody's going to punish me, I'm going to punish myself. I'm exiling myself for X. He doesn't say I'm leaving forever. He's just like, I'm going to go get away from everybody, and I'm going to go map the island. And he walks off. So Saeed's going into self-exile. That's pretty much it. Should we get into the end of the episode bits here?
Let's do it.
All right. The question that we now need to ask ourselves is, did we like it? Was it good? Mike, what do you think?
I am going to say no. This episode was not good. Inconsistent characters, and honestly, like a main story and flashback that I guess I could have taken or left. Not my favorite, but also not the worst. Okay. So I would put it somewhere in the middle.
All right. Cool.
Busher, did you like it?
I think I'm probably gonna land in the same camp as Mike. I don't know. I don't necessarily think it was great. I don't, at this point anyway, I don't need Sawyer's character origin that much, especially as weird as it is. I like the stuff, and this has happened a couple of times. I like the stuff that the side characters are getting into, like actually going about the business of surviving.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
But we don't get to focus on that. Yeah, I would say probably not. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you guys. Like in all the other episodes where we deal with, almost every episode has had some sort of flashback component to it, and they always try to juxtapose themselves to what is happening on the island to sort of inform you why characters make these decisions. And I fucking don't understand Sawyer even more now, because I think that so much of his shit was poorly written and poorly constructed that I'm like, I don't fundamentally understand his drive and his motivation. And it just fell kind of flat on its face.
Sure. Yeah. Lost MVP, our favorite character of the episode, detached from any other context we might have about it. Mike, who is your lost MVP for Confidence Man?
Oh, no. I'm going to say the kid, because he had to do the least amount of stuff in the episode. So he walked away the cleanest.
The fucking Dead Zone kid?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's my right hook for you for this one. Also, if you want to do like the main cast,
no, you don't have to. Don't feel obligated.
No. I got one now.
Okay.
Sun comes out the best. She comes out looking like the best.
She always does.
Yeah, her only goal in this episode is to help somebody who's sick.
Yeah.
So she gets my real MVP.
There you go.
Yeah, Sun's great. Adam.
Yep. It's Sun. Circumventing the drama, doing the work, keeping to the business of keeping people alive, keeping people as healthy as she can. She's smart, she's effective. Sun.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Yep.
JP.
The truly just always selfless, always dad energy, Whitland man, John Locke. Hey man, I'm making some spikes over here. Hey, Saeed, you need a knife to defend yourself? You take this special knife. You take John Locke's special knife. I want you to be okay. That fucking energy, man. John Locke, God bless him.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
He didn't give him like a whole. I just thought about that. He just gave him the knife. Yeah. He didn't give him like the means sheath to carry it.
Yep.
Hey, give a man a sheath, and he whittles for a day to teach a man to sheath, and he stabs a man in the arm.
I want that on my tombstone.
God damn. Lost forever. Least favorite character of the episode, regardless of context, whatever else you may know about where they go or what they do. Mike, who is your Lost forever?
Definitely the the grifter guy that tries to intimidate Sawyer. Like, doesn't need to be in the episode. And even if he is in the episode and is forced to be there, I'm never intimidated. I never get to the point where I feel like Sawyer's got this sort of ticking clock behind him. I could totally do without him.
Nice.
Adam.
What do I got? I got Charlie. Charlie for being fat phobic. He's a fucking dick to Hurley. Put a bad taste in my mouth. The second that he started being like that, I couldn't hardly look at him anymore. Fucking Charlie. Get it together, bro.
Nice.
JP.
Michael. Learn how to gut a fucking fish, my guy. Like, you're doing it while holding it out like it's like this sacrificial thing. Like, you've been on the island for more than a day. Now you got fish guts all over the place. Like, it's gonna stink. You're already in a cave.
It is gonna stink.
In the cave, yeah.
Yeah, watch the other people that are fucking gutting fish and just do what they do.
Yeah, good point.
For sure.
Stop making a fucking mess.
Mike, did you have a burning question? Something that was a question that was raised in the episode that did not get answered by it.
The biggest one that I have is, because it's been so long since I've seen the show, I want to know where Saeed's going.
Nice. Yeah.
I want to know where he's going to end up at the and hopefully, it gets answered I'm sure it gets answered in the first season.
That's mine as well. I'm just like, ooh, I wonder what side quest fun he gets on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a super good question. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, do you have any burning questions?
I didn't really have one. Just because as I was going through this, anytime a question came up, I've sort of been like remembering the answers to the questions that I was asking myself. So I didn't.
Sure.
I didn't necessarily in this one. But I agree with you guys that I don't remember specifically where Saeed goes. So that's I would be very interested to see what happens there as well. So cool. That is Confidence Man, y'all. Mike, let's do a quick plug. You've got a show. Mike and his friend, your friend, Noah Totsky, host Nuke It From Orbit, a bi-monthly podcast for movie watchers. You guys kick off each show by recapping what you've been watching or rewatching, and then on your main segment, you throw a movie into the crater, never to be seen again. Nuke It From Orbit is riotously funny. It's filled with trivia, jokes, references. You have guests on, like Kevin from Trailer Hitch, and Lost on Lost's own JP Russell. Folks can find you on Facebook at Nuke It From Orbit Podcast, and you can be heard on all the podcatchers, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., etc., etc. Mike, anything to add?
Check us out. We put up an episode every other week. Sometimes we'll put out specific special episodes if there's like a big movie coming out or something like that. We've done one commentary track for Batman versus Superman, which is 3 hours long. So if you want to listen to that while you're driving somewhere, go ahead. But yeah, otherwise just check the show out.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike, for being on. We would love to have you back in the future if you had a good time.
Of course.
And we would also love to, sometime in the future, have both you and Noah on together as a pair for...
fuck yes.
For one of our special double-length episodes. So,
sure.
Yeah, we'll
of
all
course.
get fucking hammered on Schlitz.
Yeah.
And if you at home are trying to be lost with us, please check out our next episode. We will be watching Season 2, Episode 17, Lockdown. And JP, I know you've been looking forward to this. It's our first lock-centric episode.
Oh, fuck yeah. I'm visibly excited. I went from 6 to midnight real quick. All right. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Lost on Lost.
I'm Adam.
I'm JP.
Do you have any idea what's going on this show?
No.
Me neither. Lost on Lost is produced and edited by Adam Busher and JP Russell.
Recorded on location in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Los Angeles, California.
Our show is hosted at Podbean. Find us there or wherever you find your podcasts.
Thanks to Danny Schmitz of Lost in a Name for our theme music.
Lostpedia and the community of contributors there.
Random.org for creating the watch order.
Check out our Facebook page, Lost on Lost, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at Lost on Lost 1.
Don't follow those jerks at Lost on Lost 2.
You can also email us at wearelostonlost@gmail.com. If you like what we're getting into here, buy us a coffee at coffee.com/wearelostonlost.
That's ko-fi.com/wearelostonlost.